good morning. Thank you for tuning in this Friday morning. I'm Samiksha Srivastava. Let's get started with the top stories. The police have arrested 12 people in connection with the vandalism at the RG Kar hospital in Kolkata. The nurses staged a protest after mob damaged parts of the facility where trainee doctor was found dead last week. The hospital's emergency ward was left in disarray with the medical equipment and furniture destroyed as well. In fact, despite the damage, Kolkata police confirmed that the crime scene remained intact. 9 people were initially arrested in connection with the violence. People reported that a group of 40 to 50 people posing as protesters stormed the hospital and caused significant property damage as well. In fact, to control the situation, the police was seen using tear gas shells and lathi charge to disperse the mob. The Bengal BJP will organize a candle march today, culminating in a protest at Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee's residence. This protest is in response to allegations of mishandling and evidence tampering in the rape and murder case. The march will be led by BJP women leaders, which would include Vanati Srinivasan, the national president of the BJP Mahila Morcha. The incident note has had a nationwide impact, prompting the BJP to announce a nationwide protest that's scheduled for today. The BJP's protest seeks to demand, the protesters demand a thorough investigation and accountability for those involved. Party leaders, meanwhile, have criticized what they see as attempt to compromise the judicial process. The medical associations will resume their protest march today in response to the violent incident at the RG Kar hospital where the mob went on a rampage. The protesters have been rallying, expressing their safety concerns and advocate for justice. The Indian Medical Organization has declared a nationwide withdrawal of services by doctors from 6 a.m. Starting tomorrow until 6 a.m. Of Sunday. They also stated that casualties will be managed in case of any emergency situation. It will be managed by the medical association that has been staging a protest. Dr. Naran Agarwal, renowned missile scientist and father of Agni missiles, passed away due to age-related illness. In fact, the Defense Research and Development Organization and scientific communities across the country have expressed deep condolences for his passing. As the first program director of the Agni missile program, he was known for his innovative approach and technical expertise, which significantly advanced India's missile technology. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 1990 and Padma Bhushan in 2000, which is India's third highest civilian honor. Ahead of the upcoming elections in Maharashtra, significant political developments are expected to take place today. The Maha Vikas Aghadi Alliance has called for a meet to address ongoing internal differences in the Maha Vikas Aghadi related to the Chief Minister position. Maharashtra Congress, meanwhile, the Maharashtra Congress Chief Nana Patole has stated that the alliance will decide on its Chief Minister candidate after the Assembly elections. Patole even criticized the BJP-led Mahayuti government, alleging that it has compromised Maharashtra's prosperity for Gujarat's benefit. Meanwhile, Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister and NCP Chief Ajit Pawar stated that having contested 7 to 8 elections, he does not wish to contest in the upcoming elections. The BJP party will be holding a press conference today in the capital of all Indian states. Key leaders will spearhead these sessions. Smriti Irani will hold a press conference in Kolkata, Sudhanshu Trivedi in Lucknow, Prem Shukla in Mumbai and Gaurav Bhatia in Jaipur city. The main focus of these press conferences will be to criticize and scrutinize the India Alliance actions in the last few months. The BJP plans to use these coordinated media events to challenge the alliance policies and positions. The World Health Organization has declared Mpox as public health emergency of international concern due to rising cases in the Democratic Republic of Congo and the potential for global spread as well. This designation initiates a coordinated international response that would include mobilizing resources such as vaccines and diagnostic tests to combat the virus. Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, is a viral infection related to smallpox. The Delhi High Court is scheduled to hear the case related to death of 14 patients at the Asha Kiran Center in the national capital today. In fact, in the last hearing, the court had directed the Delhi government to relocate individuals from the facility to alternative accommodation. The court even expressed its displeasure, describing the situation as an emergency and highlighted the urgent need for action. With the incident, the court even questioned the value placed on human lives in this crisis situation. The upcoming hearing will address the ongoing issues at the center and the government's response to the court's directives. The United Nations will deploy a fact-finding team to Bangladesh next week to investigate allegations of atrocities committed during the recent unrest that led to resignation of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The interim Bangladesh government announced the mission. In a statement, the UN team will focus on human rights abuses reported during the student-led revolution that occurred in July and early August. The decision follows discussion between UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk and interim Bangladesh leader Muhammad Yunus. The fact-finding mission aims to address widespread reports of human violations amidst the ongoing political unrest in the country. And we now shift to our business segment. One of the big stories that we're tracking is the statement that's now coming from Mahindra and Mahindra, pledging that it will continue to manufacture electric vehicle space as its strong commitment to electric mobility in the country. Mahindra has reaffirmed its commitment to electric mobility, emphasizing it as a strategic priority for India's future. Speaking in Kochi, Rajesh Jejurikar, who is the CEO of Mahindra's automotive sector, stressed that electric vehicles should be the focus of government support despite recent policy shifts favoring hybrid vehicles. In fact, the CEO highlighted the crucial role of electric vehicles in India's long-term transportation strategy and called for continued government backing. Cisco Systems announced a 7% reduction in its global workforce, affecting approximately 5,000 employees. The restructuring, expected to cost more than $1 billion, includes severance and other related expenses. Most of these costs, between $700 million to $800 million, will be recorded in the first quarter of Cisco 2025 fiscal year. Despite the layoffs, Cisco reported $13.6 billion in revenue for the fourth quarter of 2024, exceeding expectations. The company's stock rose by over 5% following the announcement. This follows earlier cuts in February and reflects broader industry trends amid the challenging market demands. India's medicine and antibiotic exports are gaining ground in major markets like the US and Italy, according to Commerce Ministry. In fact, last year, India became the third largest supplier of retail medicines to the US, with exports rising to $9 billion and a market share of 13.1%. This growth came as Ireland and Switzerland saw declines. In fact, India also boosted its share in the Italian antibiotics market to 2.12%, with exports increasing to over $23 million. Additionally, India's share in MRI apparatus exports to Germany grew by over 1%. That reflects improved competitiveness and strategic focus on pharmaceutical and medical device manufacturing. India's textiles and apparel exports surged by more than 4% in July, reaching to $2 million, driven by rising global demand. Reports, as reported by Citi, apparel exports led by growth increased by over 11% in July last year. Textile exports remained steady at $1 billion. The boost in apparel shipments signals India's growing global market presence, especially in the US, EU and UK. This growth even positions India to benefit from upcoming free trade agreements, further enhancing its export potential in the textiles sector. US retail sales rose by 1% in July, surpassing expectations and easing concerns about an economic slowdown. This increase follows a revised 0.2% drop in the month of June and exceeds the anticipated 0.3% rise. The unexpected boost in consumer spending suggests strong demand despite inflation and recent unemployment rate increase. Core retail sales, which excludes automobiles and other categories, grew by less than 1%, maintaining resilience. However, in consumer spending, the robust retail data may influence the Federal Reserve's interest rate decisions, with market now expecting more cautious approach than a significant rate cut. And those were our top business stories. Let's now take a look at international stories if you're tracking this Thursday morning. Former US President Donald Trump has accused Vice President Kamala Harris of breaking the border and breaking the world due to her role in major Biden administration spending initiatives. Donald Trump criticized Harris' stand on combating price gouging and dismissed it as a communist price controls and failed strategy leading to shortages. He also blamed inflation primarily on government spending than more complex factors like global supply chain issues or oil price spikes.
Some big facts and some very substantial truths about where we stand as a country, because we're a failing nation because of the way it's been run for the last 3.5 years. We're a failing nation. People are coming into our country by the millions and millions and millions. We have no idea who they are, where they come from. But we're also a failing economy. Kamala Harris is a radical California liberal who broke the economy, broke the border, and broke the world, frankly. Very destructive to the entire world, because as we go, oftentimes the world goes. She destroys everything she touches, and if she wins, your finances and your country will never recover. You're never going to recover.
Meanwhile, the U.S. National Security Council Coordinator John Kirby has stated that while the U.S. has been monitoring Russian troop movements, they are unsure of Vladimir Putin's objectives. This comes as Ukrainian forces continue their major incursion into Russia's Kursk region for the second straight week. Ukraine, note, has claimed additional territorial gains, capturing Russian soldiers and destroying a jet bomber as well. The operation is the largest attack on Russian soil since World War II and reportedly involves up to 10,000 Ukrainian troops. Additionally, John Kirby condemned the Russian conviction of US-Russian dual national Kavana, who is sentenced to 12 years for donating about $52 to a Ukrainian aid charity, calling the charges vindictive cruelty. Late Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny's wife Yulia has accused Russian authorities of refusing to probe her husband's death and misrepresenting its cause as well. Navalny has revealed that investigators attributed the death of her husband to medical ailments. She even dismissed this as a cover-up for what she believes was nothing but murder. Navalny, who's a prominent critic of President Vladimir Putin, died in February this year while imprisoned under politically charged charges pressed by the Russian authorities. Thousands of protesters rallied in Israel's capital to demand that Israeli government secures the release of hostages held by the Hamas group in Gaza region. The demonstration coincided with the new international mediation efforts in Doha, which are aimed at negotiating a ceasefire and resolve the hostage situation as well. Hamas has not been participating in talks with Israeli forces. The conflict has resulted in deaths of as many as 1,200 Israelis and abduction of 250 people. The ongoing war has also claimed lives of more than 40,000 Palestinians. Columbia University president has resigned after a tumultuous tenure. This follows heavy criticism over her handling of campus protests related to Israel-Hamas conflict. In fact, this resignation follows widespread scrutiny, including a congressional inquiry as well, and internal controversies which involve faculty texts disparaging Jewish life. The university has faced significant unrest over the past few months, which includes violent clashes between protesters and police and subsequent administrative upheaval as well. She began her role in July last year itself, cited the toll on her family and the challenge of uniting the university's community as reason for her departure. She will now return to UK to focus on global poverty and sustainable development as well. The United Nations has warned that the situation in Yemen is unsustainable. It emphasized the need to prevent Houthis from attacking ships and exacerbating the conflict in the Gaza region. United Nations also expressed concerns over the ongoing military preparations and threats of a renewed war despite a current truce. The United Nations has called for the release of 13 Yemeni UN staffers and over 50 NGO workers who are held by the Houthi group.
Over the past months, I have continuously expressed my deep concern about the trajectory of events in Yemen. Unfortunately, this regressive trend, illustrated by continuing military activities and escalatory rhetoric, has continued. While levels of violence along the front lines remain relatively contained compared to the period before the 2022 truce, we are continuing to witness military preparations and reinforcements, accompanied by continuous threats of a return to war.
And in news from Venezuela, with the opposition leader Maria Corina has rejected Brazilian President Silva's proposal for a new presidential election in the country. She called it an insult to the people of the country. Lula, who has not recognized Nicolas Maduro's victory in last month's election, suggested that a new vote could be called if Maduro were sensible. Further, he criticized Maduro for not providing a satisfactory explanation about the election results, even questioned the effectiveness of new election if Maduro continues to reject results. Meanwhile, Brazil, Colombia as well as Mexico have maintained a neutral stand on the entire issue. The countries have urged Venezuela's electoral authorities to release detailed vote tallies to verify the election outcome. More than 39 candidates will participate in Sri Lankan presidential election that is set to take place next month itself. The election will be significant, one, as it will determine the future of the country's economic reforms amid an unprecedented crisis that the country has long been facing. The election will evaluate the reforms implemented by current President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is seeking approval for his economic agenda in the country. Among the candidates are opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and Namal Rajapaksa, who is the son of former President Mahindra Rajapaksa. The Israeli military has released footage which shows troops operating in the Gaza Strip, particularly in the Rafah area, where they are engaged in ongoing battle with terrorists and have covered a tunnel shaft. Israeli Defense Forces also confirmed continued operations in the Khan Yunis and central Gaza region. This amid the intensifying conflict between Israel and Hamas. International mediators, which includes the US, Qatar and Egypt, are scheduled to meet with an Israeli delegation in Qatar to discuss a potential ceasefire and release of hostages as well. The 10-month-old war has resulted in nearly 40,000 Palestinian deaths, according to local health authorities. Hamas has not confirmed participation in talks, accusing Israel of introducing new demands to a US-backed proposal. A ceasefire could ease regional tensions in the Middle East, potentially deterring retaliatory actions from Iran and Hezbollah after recent strikes by Israel. The mediators are focused on three-phase plan that involves a ceasefire deal, hostage release, and withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza conflict region. The IDF has released footage of continuing operations in the Gaza Strip region. Meanwhile, this is the news that is coming in from Russia, where as a country successfully launched the Progress MS-28 cargo spacecraft to the ISS from the Kazakhstan. According to Russian space agency, the spacecraft is carrying essential supplies to the International Space Station, continuing Russia's role in supporting the station. It was originally a Soviet facility, has now been leased by Russia from Kazakhstan since the Soviet Union's dissolution in 1991. The current agreement allows Russia to use the site for space launches until 2050 with an annual lease payment of $150 million. The International Space Station, a symbol of international cooperation since the end of Cold War, remains one of the few areas where Russia and Western countries continue to collaborate despite rising tensions over the conflict in the Ukraine region. Tropical storm Ernesto hit parts of the Caribbean on Wednesday, impacting Tortola region in British Virgin Islands. The storm, which intensified into a hurricane, brought torrential rains and strong winds that resulted in significant flooding and damage in the region. In Tortola, trees were uprooted and areas flooded, while Puerto Rico experienced road blockages and nearly 100 flight cancellations. US Virgin Islands governor advised residents to prepare noting that the storm's fast movement at 18 meters per hour could limit its impact. Schools and government offices were closed that affected as they were the affected regions. Currently, Ernesto, with maximum sustained winds of 75 mph, is located about 175 miles northwest of San Juan and moving northwest. It is expected to strengthen to a Category 3 hurricane before weakening to a Category 2 near Bermuda. Forecasters also have warned of heavy swells along the US East Coast in the coming days. Thanks for staying tuned to Republic. You're watching Quick Morning. I'm Samiksha Srivastava. Let's now get started with all the action that we're tracking from the world of sports. The FIDE World Chess Championship between reigning champion Ding Liren and 18-year-old Indian challenger D. Gukesh will take place at Resorts World Sentosa, Singapore from 23rd of November till the 15th of December. This will only be the second time in the championship's 138-year history that it is held in Southeast Asia following 1978 match in the Philippines. Singapore Note secured the hosting rights, defeating out bids from India and from New Delhi and Chennai. Meanwhile, alongside the main event, the Singapore Chess Federation will also host the Singapore International Open and National Age Group Championship, providing local players a chance to compete in prestigious tournaments. Former Dortmund player Marco Reus has signed with Major League Soccer LA Galaxy on a 2.5-year deal extending through the year of 2026 MLS season. The 35-year-old German international, who has 48 caps for his country, became a free agent after his contract with the Dortmund. Last season, Reus even played his final match for Dortmund in the Champions League final at Wembley on 1st of June, where they were defeated by 2-0 by Real Madrid. This marked his second Champions League runners-up finish, having lost to Munich at Wembley by 11 years earlier. During his 12-year tenure at Dortmund, Reus secured 2 German Cups victories and DLF Super Cup in 2013 and 2019. Meanwhile, LA Galaxy hopes Reus' experience and skill will help them break their championship drought, which has lasted since 2014. The club is looking forward to the impact Reus can bring to the squad. Arna Sablenka, the Belarusian third seed, made a strong return to the court with a comfortable victory in her opening match at the Cincinnati Open on Thursday after receiving a first-round bye. She faced Italy's Corsi Keratov, winning in straight sets 6-3, 6-4. The match marked an encouraging comeback for Sabalenka, who has been sidelined by a shoulder injury that forced her to miss both Wimbledon and Paris Olympics. Despite the time away, she showed no signs of rust, displaying powerful ground strokes and solid serving throughout the match. Sabalenka's performance is a positive sign as she works to regain her top form ahead of the upcoming US Open. And those were all the top sports stories that we've been tracking. Let's now shift focus to entertainment segment this hour. 5 people have been charged in connection with Matthew Perry's death from a ketamine overdose last year. The arrest includes his assistant and 2 doctors as well. US Attorney Martin Estrada announced the charges, accusing the doctors of supplying Matthew Perry with excessive amounts of the dosage and discussing its cost in messages. Perry, who died in October, had received multiple injections of ketamine on the day of his death from his assistant. The doctors and the assistant faced charges for their roles in the overdose. Deadpool and Wolverine has made a record-breaking start at the box office, setting a new high for R-rated films with $38.5 million. This exceeds the previous record held by Deadpool 2, which earned $18.6 million in its previous screenings in 2018. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Quick Morning. Stay tuned to Republic as we continue to get you all that's making news after this very short break.